Mind the Gap: Gender Inequalities in Brazil, India, and Iran's Workplace.
Hello, we are a group of students from different parts of the world, and today we are trying to talk about gender inequalities in Brazil, India, and Iran's workplace. This research aims at illustrating a comparison between three countries that are located in different geographical historical contexts, relating them on a basis of gender inequalities and the lack of women rights laws. Social exclusion is what can happen when people or areas suffer from a combination of linked problems. A person can also be more or less affected by his or her characteristics within each society based on set of unspoken rules and social layers. For instance, people of different race with distinct education, gender, sexual orientation, skin color, religion, financial conditions, and family. Gender inequality can be defined as allowing people different opportunities due to perceived differences based solely on issues of gender. Gender inequality can happen in every surrounding: at home, in the workplace, in the criminal justice system, in the television and film, in politics, and or even in education system.
Now moving on to workplace gap in gender inequality. We have huge wage discrimination between men and women who works at the same work position. Along with this, sometimes only men are preferred for works which requires physical strength, which leads to occupational segregation. Also, men can be easily promoted to higher positions compared to women, and they need to work lesser compared to women. There are gender-based imbalances of individuals in power and command over the management of the organizations. Thus, mostly it is harder for women to achieve something bigger in life and have to face more difficulties compared to men. Society expects women to stay at home and take care of the children and house chores. In 1999, it was well said by Wagenman and Rios that family is considered as an obstacle for women in their career development, but not for men. The Global Gender Gap Report of 2020 by the World Economic Forum is an analysis of following four parameters, namely economic participation, educational attainment, health and survival, and political empowerment. According to this, we can find that Brazil and India ranks at 92nd and 112th positions respectively, while Iran is ranked at 148th position out of the 153 researched countries. According to a report by Women, Business and the Law 2020 by the World Bank Group, we can see how women's legal rights evolved over the last 50 years. The parameters considered are namely mobility, workplace, pay, marriage, parenthood, entrepreneurship, assets, and pension. The rights have evolved, but still they are not enough. We can see from the graph that the high-income countries and other European and Central Asian countries lead the way, followed by Latin America, to which Brazil belongs. India, which belongs to the group of South Asian countries, are second from the last, and lastly are the Middle Eastern and North African countries, to which Iran belongs.
I want to present you some of the most important problems in these three countries. In Brazil, it is observed that childbirth is considered as an issue in the workplace. In India, low proportion of women has access to education, and in Iran, so many laws are driving back the women's rights. The case of Brazil. Although women have a greater education level than men, they are still strongly connected with the family, caring, and motherhood, which influences not just their choice of work, but also their chances of advancing to higher positions. Despite this progress, Brazil continues to have one of the region's greatest gender disparities, placing 22nd out of 25 nations and about 90 places behind Nicaragua, the region's best performer. The Indian case. Only one quarter of women compared to 82% of males actively participate in the labor market, one of the world's lowest participation percentages. Furthermore, female projected earned income is one-fifth that of male income, which is likewise among the lowest in the world. India ranks 112th in the overall global gender gap index, and the nation has closed two-thirds of its overall gender gap, a score of 66.8%. However, India ranks 18th in the sub-index of political empowerment. This is because the country has been led by a woman for the past 20 years. The case of Iran. Iran is one of the 10 worst countries in the 2020 Gender Gap Index. Iranian women make up just 17.9% of the Iranian labor force and regrettably have practically no engagement in the country's political climate. People have fled Iran for a variety of reasons, ranging from sexual orientation to ethnicity, with gender being the most common. This is mostly due to the government structure and the lack of legislation and concern for women, who are solely viewed as mothers, wives, or daughters of a major male with no formal standing.
Brazil, India, and Iran are three underdeveloped countries inserted in different contexts and backgrounds. Brazil and India had a close score and rank in the data from the World Bank Group and the World Economic Forum. Both countries were located close to the global average. The issue resides on the huge gap between them and Iran, mostly due to the lack of laws towards women's rights. For instance, a lot of laws reforms can be observed in the last 50 years aiming gender equality, analyzing 8 different areas: mobility, workplace, pay, marriage, parenthood, entrepreneurship, assets, and pension, according to the World Bank Group research. And Iran got a score of 0 in mobility, workplace, and marriage, showing the lack of change in the past years. Along with the comparison analysis of those research, a small collection of data was made throughout the time lapse of a week. We were able to collect the data of 352 women from different ages and educational backgrounds in the three countries. But of course, the survey has its limitations, especially since the age sample and educational level does not correspond to the population of each country from the census data, which means that the sample answers may be biased. We chose 4 main question results to show you some differences among the countries. In Brazil, comparing to other countries, more women that took part in this research believe that there is a discrimination due to pregnancy in the workplace. India shows better results than others when comparing the workplace environment. Only 44% of the women who participated felt some kind of prejudice due to their gender, which of course is still a revolting amount of women. And last but not least, in Iran, compared to other countries, more women felt some kind of prejudice due to their gender in their social and family environment. A lot of laws and reforms can be observed in the last 50 years aiming gender equality, but there is still a long way to go to achieve the common goal of gender equality in the world. According to the World Economic Forum, at this pace, it will require still 99.5 years to achieve full parity. Thank you very much for listening, and let's fight together for women's rights.